Good morning. Welcome to Morning Moments. I'm so glad that you came to join us today. I have a special guest from Orlando, Florida area. I've had a lot of folks from Orlando, Florida, and another JC Films connection, go figure. He's a actor, singer, songwriter, entertainer, and I'm sure I've missed a lot of other titles for him. Ron E. Bradley, welcome to Morning Moments.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me, Andy. I appreciate it.
Ron, tell me a little bit about what's going on. Tell me, what do you do and why do you do it?
Well, like you said, I do a lot of things. It has always been funny to me that people do often get pigeonholed into you're this or you're this, and that's associated with our career. But you're human, you're a brother. I'm human, I'm your brother. That's all that matters. I do entertainment acting for my living. The way I make my living right now is as a server at Disney World, at a very nice restaurant there. It's called Toledo Tapas Steaks and Seafood, and we have just amazing food. And I enjoy it because since I'm at Disney World, even in that job, I get to entertain. And entertaining guests with food while filling their bellies is a very good thing to do.
Yes, yes. You know, there's once you're an entertainer and once you're just love performing, you could have an audience of 1 or 500. You're still going to perform, right?
Absolutely. And it's great because you and I were just talking about this, but I used to do stand-up comedy, and one of the things I do a lot in my act were voices. So at Disney World, of course, I get to use all of my voices. So if somebody's having a birthday and I can say, you mean Mickey Mouse hasn't wished you a happy birthday yet? Well, oh gosh, why, hey pal, hope you're having a great birthday. Oh boy. And a lot of fun. The kids love it.
Yes, yes, yes. And what a great to bring joy to people's life. There is enough negative things going on in the world, and I think it's so important.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And what we're doing with JC Films, I'm sure you've talked to everyone else. It's great. It's funny. You may have talked to other people about this. JC Films, our film here in Orlando, Florida, our first 2 films are going to be on the subject of human trafficking, which is a challenging subject to tackle, clearly. But one of the things that a lot of people don't know that we do at Disney is annually, every cast member employee has to go through about an hour-long training on human trafficking and how to spot potential signs of it going on, whether it's at the resorts or at the parks or whatever. It is something that we look forward to. Disney's huge property. It's the size of San Francisco. A lot of people don't realize that we have like an entire city, basically. And it's a great place. It's the most magical place on earth. People are still people, and you got to look out for the bad things that some people try to sneak in and go on there. So we try to be aware of that. We do our best, and they do train us on it. And so now with that training and then taking that going forward with this film project, both Not for Sale Florida and Ghost Trader, it's going to be great just having that knowledge going into that and hoping that this challenging situation that we have, this big problem in society, can be more light can be brought to it so that we can, help rid it as best we can. It's a challenge.
You've entertained in the not just faith-based films, but in the, if I may add, the secular world, as well as the faith-based world as well. I know God has called us to be in the world, but not of the world, and He didn't. And some people don't even go into the world. And I always tell people, don't go fish in an aquarium. The fish are there. Go to the ocean where the fish are at. So sometimes we go to places with our trade, and God still uses us to speak to people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's preaching to the choir is that's the phrase that they use, right? Preaching to the choir. Not that the choir doesn't also need it, but
Yeah.
so do the people that are not in the choir. And there's a lot more of those out there than there are people in the choir.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's a lot of people out there without hope. What would you tell people today if they're listening to you and say that guy seems so funny all the time and he sounds like a fun guy to be, uh, but I don't have hope. What would you tell that person that needs to know that, have that hope?
That is a challenging question. I would say you can start with a smile and understand that, first of all, there's people that love you. You may not be aware of that, or that may be a challenge to accept. Um, yes, absolutely. Does God love you? Of course, God loves you. But a lot of times that's not tangible for someone. But I would probably say, think back in your life and think to a moment when you knew a person truly loved you. They did something for you, they helped you out. There's 8 billion people on this planet, just about 8 billion people on this planet. There's somebody out there who wants to help you out right now. And even better, you actually have the ability to do that for somebody else. That should give you hope, because we are all meant to serve each other, to help each other. When we serve each other, we are basically, that's how we're in God's service, by serving each other, by helping each other. One of the things, I love this analogy. I don't know if you've ever heard this story, but person had a dream that he died, and he saw Peter, and Peter took him down a hallway. He's like, there's no pearly gates. What is this? What's going on? He's like, I want to show you something. There's a hallway. There's only two doors. There's a door on the left, a door on the right. So he opens the door on the left and he says, what do you see? And it was this great banquet laid out in front of people. And as far as the eye could see, there was food, just endless amounts of food, and they could eat forever all this great food and never get fat, never never die. Everything it looked wonderful. But here's the weird thing: their hands were the fork and spoon, and they were too long. So they had all of this food that they could eat forever, and they tried to use their hands with the fork and spoon, and it wouldn't reach. That they just kept trying to feed themselves and it wouldn't reach. And so they were miserable because they had all this wonderful things in front of them. They couldn't do anything about it. So then he goes, okay, so you saw that. He goes, what do you see? Those people are miserable. They have everything in front of them, and yet they're miserable. So he goes, I want to show you the next door. And I'll look to your right. And he goes, so he opens the door on the right. Same exact scenario. All right. Feast of going on endlessly. Same problem. The people had the same types of hands, a fork and a spoon, but they were too long to feed themselves. But they were happy because they were feeding each other. They weren't trying to just feed themselves. And that is probably a story that I would tell to give somebody hope, to understand that if you think of the other person, you're going to be taken care of. If you serve the other person, you'll be taken care of. You had mentioned something like that before we started this, that, hey, I don't know what I'm going to do here, but I want to serve, and God is taking care of you right now because you're taking care of other people in your service with this podcast. So that's kind of what we do.
You know, there's something to be said about serving other people. When Christ was confronted and people said, well, what do we need to do to be great? He says, if you want to be great in God's kingdom, you got to be a servant of all. And sometimes we try to reach greatness by popularity, how many likes that we had, how many how many people see us. And God says, why don't you just serve others? And in that act of service, you become great in his kingdom, because what else matters as long as you're great in God's kingdom, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Ron, what I'm going to be doing is I'm really looking forward to those two films. I've talked to so many people who've produced and directed and acted in those two films that you talked about, and I'm looking forward to seeing those. I'm going to put that information down below. Have contact and other information about Ron, and I'll put that down below. More important than looking to see what Ron has done, I would like for my audience to be praying for Ron, that God would use him in his family, in his work, in his entertainment, and that each and everything that he does, that he continues to be a great light to a world of darkness. And so I want people to be praying for you, Ron. Okay.
Appreciate that.
All right.
Pray.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being a guest on Morning Moments. And for you who've been watching, thank you for watching, and keep coming back for some more Morning Moments.